This is how I'm using Hermes to control, manage, and run my entire ABM campaign. Now, here's the key thing. It's controlling it through using a signal-based approach. And in today's video, I'm going to dive into the weeds on how I came up with the leads in the first place, set up the signal-based monitoring, and enabled Hermes to manage and control and run everything. So let's dive in. So first things first, let's go real high level to see what is going on. So Hermes, if you don't know, it's like an agentic harness that we're using, very similar to OpenClaw and Claude Code and all of that. The benefits to it is it's model agnostic, and I have baked in tons of other cool stuff, which I've done videos on another time. Now, what's happening is, first of all, we need to use the knowledge base, which if you haven't already seen, go check out my YouTube. I do tons of videos there on how I've baked in the knowledge base. But we use the knowledge base, which is through the memory system that we've created, and we're going to use excess search. And I'm going to show you exactly what this looks and how this feels. And that is going to help us come up with a lead list of 100, 1,000, it can be however many you want, key individuals. Then we're going to set up a signal-based monitoring system through leveraging Trigify and the MCP there. And we're then going to have Hermes effectively control or look up at the signals to see, has any new signal happened? If they have, we're going to score it. From there, we're going to draft some tailored message, and then we're going to action them on tools like smuggler.dev and +5, which is the automation outreach tools that we use. So let's kind of go into to see how this looks. So first things first, we're going to ask it, define who you think my ICP is. So what's cool about this is going to use, and again, I've done videos on this, but I built a memory system and a context engine, which is feeding and giving my Hermes agent, in this case called Silco, the entirety of what's going on in my world. And so it's incredibly good at working out, okay, who is the TAM, who is the ICP, because it knows all of my customers, it knows the ones that are performing well, it knows how they act, it knows how they think, it knows who uses the product well, all of the nuts and bolts. So we can see here it's coming in and it's saying who they are. We got technical growth, RevOps, demand gen, ABM operators at 100 to 1,500 employee B2B SaaS, RevTech, MarTech, cybersecurity, or a high ACV professional services. US, UK, and Western Europe centric. So it's the person who already runs clay tables, owns the named account list, and is the one budget cycle away from buying an AI SDR that they don't really trust. That's kind of funny. So here we go, hard exclusions, where I'd push back. Cybersecurity is a sleeper, long sales cycle, named account obsessed, champions moving consistently, pure Trigify use case. That's cool. It's given me like a cybersecurity point. And then here it's given us the one sentence ICP. And so last night, I basically, to save time, I used a / goal and created this goal, which was like, okay, hey, take this ICP that we've come up with here and using Excel, go find me 100 LinkedIn profiles that you can source based on this ICP, based on them needing us, based on all of the variables and the parameters that they've just come up with here. So we say, share the spreadsheet on the 100 profiles. So then we're going to get this. We're going to check to see if the leads that I have come up with is good. While that's doing that, I'm going to open up a new Hermes tab. And by the way, you can chat with it through Discord or wherever you want to. And we're going to say, using the Trigify, damn it, I hit enter. Using the Trigify MCP, I want you to look at what signals they offer, and based on who you think ICP is, come up with the key signals we should be looking at for these leads. Okay, so that is now going to work with the MCP to hopefully then understand the signals that we could set up through Trigify. And then it's going to analyze our ICP. And then it's going to say, okay, hey, well, hey, here are the top 3 signals that we should do. While that's working, we're going to go ahead and we're going to have a look at the spreadsheet here. I'm going to fire open a Chrome tab. Open this up. Classic. Okay, so here we have all of the different leads coming in. I can see some names that I am familiar with. So I know that it is along the right lines here. We've got sales tools, marketing tools. We've got some cybersecurity tools coming in here, data tools. You got like the Vanta coming in. And what's really cool is we've got some forward-leaning evidence. So one of the kind of key things that I tasked it to go and find was I want them to be forward-leaning, right? And so what I mean by that is they're using AI, they're ops-orientated, they think and feel the way that we want our customers to be thinking and feeling, so to speak. And you can see here that it's got the evidence-based as well, which is perfect. So we've got a really good and targeted list here. And of course, we could keep diving into this and maybe add more, or maybe kind of firm it up a little bit more as well. Let's go back to here. So we've got 16 signals available. Here's how I'd rank them for our ICP. Tier 1, pull the trigger. So this would be buying window, literally what it says, topic keywords like outbound or intent data, signal-based selling, RevOps tooling, and they're also hiring for specific roles. Liked competitor content, changed role, or company started hiring. Tier 2, this is more nurture into a conversation, posted about track topic, change company, and then change jobs has increased, so a broader growth signal. And then tier 3, skip for the conversion, influence, expansion, like tracked person content, became aware. So what I'm going to say is I like the idea of stacking the signals. Let's create a scoring system that we can store the scores plus monitor once we set up the campaign. If they go into tier 1, we can route them into a smuggler.dev campaign later. If tier 2, the same, slightly different campaign. And tier 3, let's track the score. Once they hit a certain metric, we can then reach out. So now what I'm doing, if we go back to the original kind of drawing here, is I'm working with Hermes to create now a scoring system. You might already know the scoring system, so you can be a little bit more explicit on how you want. But what we've done so far is we've done this kind of component. This is all done. We have 100 leads. So now what we need to do is we need to set them up to be monitoring. Before I do that, I want to create this scoring system first. And then once I have that scoring system, I'll then go ahead and create this system through the API that we have available. So it said, okay, storage, where do scores live? For the dog fooding, I go through the work table now, port air table, blah, blah, blah. Scoring math, proposal, tier 1 signals. So here we go. It's giving me a load of different signals, which again, we can sit and tweak, but this looks pretty good already. Let's just say storage wise, let's just spin up a Google Sheets that we can use going forward. And then we're also going to say, we then need to go ahead and set up the campaign to be monitoring these signals. So I'm going to give it this sheets that we created. I also want you to, what we're going to say, once that's done, go ahead and set up the signal-based monitoring system using Trigify. Here are the profiles you can upload. Feel free to set up the signals, jobs, etc. what you see fit. So then what we would need to work on, so that's going to go ahead now and do two sections, which is Trigify signal monitoring and scoring. So what we would now need to do is just come up with a good message. Really here, because you're doing signal-based outreach, you don't need to do much personalization in my opinion. It's just more about a timely outreach. But again, we would sit and spar this out with Hermes because it's got the full context of everything that we're kind of building here, right? It's getting a little bit messy here, but... And then both these tools have APIs. So again, we can sit here and just set them up as well. Conscious of time, I want to keep this video relatively short. So I'm not going to do this section, but that section is relatively easy. The last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set up the cron so that we are checking once this system here has finished setting it up. Okay, so it's now all come back, which is good. We have 100 profiles that are subscribed to Trigify social signals, 8 signals per profile. we're tracking it daily. So we're tracking for these signals on a daily basis. And we have 186 people that we're monitoring in total inside of that, which is cool. It's also created and populated this kind of G sheet here. So let's open that up and have a look at what's going on there. So we can see the profiles, we can see the signal log, scores, and routing, which is cool. And then it has asked us, want me to build the score calc cron tomorrow once we have the real signal data flowing, or set it up now with mock data to make sure the pipeline is working. And I'm going to say, let's go ahead and set it up now. Should be able to do it based on the expected responses. So now what this is doing is this is building the cron. So if we go back to here, which is just like another word for automation. God, this is busy. So let's just kind of clean this all up now. This is basically building this section here, which is checking it. And then it's applying the scoring matrix. And then depending on which score, we can then set up an additional cron to then basically then route the lead through to a campaign in here, depending on which tier it hits. Will also depend on which message that it gets. And that's everything, start to finish, on how we would go about that. So you can see here, this is now running away in the background, and this is going to set up the cron. And it's really that simple on how we could go ahead, find some so we want to monitor. Of course, we could do this by even actually just connecting our HubSpot, our Attio, whatever we're using, pull in our key accounts, upload them to be monitoring on the certain signals, creating a score and metrics, and then obviously initiating the campaign and running it from there as well.